I'm going to try. Go look for it tonight. All right. Absolute value functions, excuse me. Absolute value functions. You can always use the little XY graph thingy to be able to set up and figure out exactly what your X and your Y values are by plugging them in and finding and matching them together. But I'm going to show you some shortcuts that we can look at and tell how this thing is shifting around the x-axis, okay? Your standard absolute value graph. Your standard absolute value function is written f of x, f equals the absolute value of x, okay? And this little x should be in parentheses, but my thing's messed up, so I don't even know where those parentheses are going to show up. Okay, in the graph of that function, looks like this, okay? It's got the vertex of the thing on the origin. The slope here is 1 to 1. The slope here is negative 1 to 1. All right? And that is your standard absolute value function. Now we're going to just take this and we're going to look at different types of equations and then we're going to move it around in order for... What's that? It's still going to be a V all the time. The V might shift to the left or the right. It might shift up and down. It might get fatter or it might get skinnier, but it's always a V. And today we're going to look at how do you tell what it's doing and how this thing is moving around. So first off, let me group these little things together so I can move them as one. Okay? So now when I want to move it, I can move the whole thing. Okay. Say we take this equation and we put this, f of x is equal to the absolute value of x plus 1. Okay. Yes? They'll call for you. The absolute value of x plus 1. Now what does this do? This is still in the form y equals mx plus b. Okay? So the slope of my lines are still 1 to 1. But now the vertex of this thing is crossing the y-axis at positive 1. So by simply placing a number in the b location of this equation or this function, that shifts the graph either up or down, because it tells you where the vertex lies in reference to the y-axis. So this is the graph of that function. The slope of your lines are still 1 to 1. So as it goes from corner of a box to a corner of the box, it's just going to the very next corner. Okay? Same thing over here. It's a reflection. The other side's exactly the same. One's not going to be steeper than the other. They're going to be exactly the same. The slope is 1. The y-intercept is positive 1. And so all that did was shift the graph up 1 on the y-axis. Suppose we say minus 2. Well, we start back with our original, because here is our original function with the vertex on 0 and the slope of 1 to 1. What's the slope of this function that I have at the bottom?
1 over 1.
It's still 1 to 1, but now the vertex is where? On negative 2 on the y-axis. So this is the graph of that function. going to get to what other things can happen. Okay? Right now, we're just focusing one thing at a time. So the number behind this, outside of the absolute value brackets, tells you the y-intercept. It tells you where it's crossing the y-axis. Okay? All right, now, suppose we say 2 absolute value x.
Plus 0 is understood.
Plus 0 is understood. The vertex of this thing has not shifted above or below the x-axis. It's still at 0, but the slope has changed. My slope is no longer 1 over 1. Now my slope is 2 over 1, which means as I go up 2, let's see how I can do this. There we go. I go over 1. As I go up 2, where is it? 1, 2. No, here. Over 1. Okay? So, my vertex is still at 0, but the slope of each line is now 2 over 1. So as I rise 2, 1, 2, I move over 1. There's the next point. 1, 2, over 1. 1, 2, over 1. Look on this side. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1.
Oh, hold on. How do you go 2 and over 1?
How do you graph that? Just like that. You start at 0. Okay? I need to show you that because you're not going to have a V that you can play with. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can.
All right. How do we graph this? We start with where is it in relation to the y-axis, which is not there. Okay? And then we find points on either side. Okay? My slope is 2 over 1. So I move up 2, and then I move out 1 on both sides. And from those 2 points, I will move up 2 and out 1. Up 2 and out 1.
Go that way. I thought it had to be a negative to go that way.
This is an